Hello world. So, as you can tell, I'm not in my room. I'm actually at a gas station, and it is probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I should be home. But instead, the Lord has really constricted my heart tonight and really brought some things to light, and I just feel this really heavy weight right now to really speak and share part of my story with you guys. I know I share pieces and little tidbits, but this part of my story a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people would never guess it. I hide it so well, and it's it's just a big factor of who I am and a point to where I've come from. Um, it's not something easy I share. It's not something I'm proud of. I hold a lot of shame and a lot of regret, and there's a lot of struggle within that. Um, so it's hard to share it with you guys, but I feel like the Lord wants me to release it, and I feel like I can't be at peace tonight until I release it. And currently, the Lord has taken me to this gas station and kind of walked me through some of my struggles and pain at this moment. And so here I am. Here I am, world. And I know many of you guys have triggers, and you guys have things that are going to set you off and bring you into panic attacks and things like that. Or maybe you just never experienced that and you're one of those lucky numbers. I don't see myself a statistic. I don't see myself as a young lady who's, gone through hell and back and now should be appraised for it. I am strong, yes, because I have the Lord. I have good Papa. I am courageous, yes, but I am no more strong and no more courageous than, say, someone else. And I think we get that sometimes mistaken, because my journey is not your journey and your journey is not my journey. That's just the way things are. But that's okay. It's okay that we live different journeys. It's okay that we go different paths. To those that know me and don't know this part of my story, I pray that you're not too shocked or that you don't start seeing me in a different light. But instead, I just pray that you have open hearts and open compassion and consideration to what I have to speak to. Because after this instance occurred, I was in such shock that I used to talk about it with everybody. But quickly in churches that was shut down, and quickly by Christians specifically, it was, we don't want to hear about this. Let's put it in that corner over there deal. Now I know Zion and my wonderful Encounter family and my best friends and good people I care about, my family and stuff. I know they're different, but what that church told me still resonates very clearly in my heart, and what another church told me still resonates very clearly in my heart. And it isn't something that a lot of people want to talk about because, well, a lot of times it's like, well, what did you do? What did you do? And that's what it felt like for a long time. How did I keep messing up? How come I could not get it right? How come I could not fix it? But it wasn't about being fixed. It was simply about the fact that the Lord was not there in the middle of it. And even though I brought the Lord into the light, into this situation, he still was not able to move freely within it because the other person was not willing to. So, the truth is, I got out of a really abusive situation about 2 years ago. And I've been in multiple. This is not a first time deal. So I'm kind of a girl that's been there, done that, gone through that, and then keep finding myself in those situations. An addiction to self-harm goes many different levels, and that could even go towards being addicted to people hurting you. And having a personality and a attitude that draws those kind of people to you. And that's where I was for a long time. And that's how I ended up in this situation, I believe, because I was so desperate for any type of attention or fake love per se, that I'd take anything. And this person saw that. And he was very good at lies. He was very good at manipulation. He was very good at causing hurt, but not calling it that or allowing me to see that, if that makes any sense. So 2 years ago, yeah, basically, I got myself in a really bad situation. Like I said, it wasn't my first time, but this time I was locked in. I was 3 months married to this guy, and 3 months of pretty much literal hell. It was not a union of agreement. It was not a union that I yearned for or even knew what I was getting myself into. It was a simple fact of me feeling that this love that he was willing to offer was real. It wasn't. Believing that the church that he was in was real and good. It wasn't. And just hearing a lot of what sounded like truth, but was actually lies. And I was so sick at that time too, that everyone around me was like, you can't get any better than that. So hearing people around me that I kind of look up to a point, to tell me that life's never going to get better than this, that I'm lucky. I've heard that many times whenever I get in bad situations. Well, you're lucky. I don't agree with that concept. But it was the best I had, and I felt like it was okay. I had Jesus, but I didn't have Jesus like I have Jesus now. I had a picture of Jesus, but I didn't have him living in my heart. And I looked up to a lot of what this guy said, and I believed him. Only to find out later that every single thing he'd ever told me, even down to his love for me, was just, as I saw Jesus, it was just a picture. It was not real. It was not tangible. I was something to be possessed, something to be owned, something to be controlled, and if I didn't, I was punished. And I lived in this sphere of living, and, well, not really living, just surviving, when you are going to be punished for even things that you don't know what you did wrong. I grew up in a tumultuous kind of family situation, and I'm not going to go into that tonight, but being punished by guys is nothing new. But this kind of punishment was very different. It was very, very different. It wasn't physical, but it was very mental and very emotional. And it really put you in a place where this person was like, well, I'm better than them, because he knew my story. So he'd always pull the trick, well, I'm better than them. But when that didn't work, he then turned to, well, I'll just go kill myself. Or I'll go leave the church if you don't do XYZ. And you don't realize what kind of psyche effect that has on someone until you look back and you realize that that really, really impacted you. Because now suddenly this guy is saying that if you don't do XYZ, his death is on your hands. His blood is on your hands. And it really messed with me for the longest time. It really affected me. It really impacted me. And I was terrified of this guy I was supposed to love. I was terrified of this situation, of this pact. And everyone was like, oh, not everyone has perfect harmony and unity. But we had a few days, and this wheel started to spin. And it's something when you've been trained a social worker, and you've gone through every single class, and you've lived all those 4 years thinking that that's not me, that's not my life, only to one day wake up and realize that is my life, and not even recognize that you are in that situation because you are so deep into that situation. It wasn't until afterwards, and I ended up at a domestic violence agency, desperate for any type of help or coaching or something, that I learned that there's a wheel. And it's a wheel that speeds up over time, usually years. For me, it was weeks and months. It was a wheel where you have good, it starts going bad, it gets really bad, it starts over again. What most people have and are put up with is 13, 14, 15 years. And eventually it gets so bad that they have to leave. I had months. And it kept getting worse. And it wasn't until he was willing to take my life and those lives around me in his hands with absolute no consciousness that I had to get out and I had to get away and I had to leave. And that type of feeling of absolute helplessness and fear goes way beyond even terror. And that was kind of the pivotal moment where something had to change, and it had to change inside of me. I didn't cry out to God then. Maybe I should have. But instead I ran, which is my go-to. But there's something that you don't just walk away from when you're in that kind of situation where someone is driving so recklessly that they don't care about your life or anyone else's lives around them. And then as soon as the car stops, you are that young woman that you see in movies and hear about, but you're suddenly that young woman put in that place where you're so afraid that you're banging on strangers' doors, asking for help. That puts you in a certain place that you just can't walk away from, and I don't think I fully recognize the full effect that it's had on me. There's a couple of things tonight that kind of started triggering these feelings, and I don't want to point to them because they're not mine to point out, but there's some things tonight that really put me in that place where I was back on those doorstep, banging on those strangers' doors, seeking help because of the triggers and I was feeling at that moment and what I was seeing and what I was going through. The Lord speaks to us in different ways. But I honestly have to say, though, like, what I went through, it was what it was, you know, but it brought me to here. It brought me to a wonderful, amazing church. It brought me to my small group. It brought me to amazing people around me. People I've really come to care about and really look up to, and it brought me here, you know, into Columbus, and I could still be in that situation. I could still be, you know, living with that guy. I could still be tormented and punished and hurt continuously. And I've asked the question many times, Lord, why? It's a very valuable question, I feel like. But the thing was, that wasn't what the Lord wanted for me. It wasn't the end for me, even though it felt like the end at that point. But what it brought to light and truth was even though it was hard and really awful, by the wheel spinning so quickly, the Lord was able to open my eyes to get out and to turn to Him for that handhold to get out. In 3 months' time, you know, it was over, it was gone, it was done for. There was no going back. My ex wouldn't believe it, but there was none. And I started connecting with God in brand new ways and connecting with the Bible. But I lost a lot of people in that time. I lost a lot of Christians. A lot of churches shut their doors on me. A lot of people wouldn't look at me. I lost family. A lot of people turned their face away because what I'd done was so shameful, because I walked out instead of fighting. What people don't realize is I fought every day. I fought for it, and there wasn't anything left to fight for, you know. And you only can fight so long before it really does, you know, start hurting you. I've talked to many women since that have come out of domestic violence situations, and many of them will tell you that the reason they got out was because they got so sick from all that, the abuse that was done, all the mental, emotional violence, from the stress. Stress has a profound impact on your body. And for me, I already had like a stress kind of condition. So that kind of stress was, in those few months, had gotten to the point where I basically was, I barely could eat. I barely could function. My body was actually shutting down in a matter of months because of such high emotional and mental and physical stress I was enduring. But if you talk to any woman, most of them will tell you that they've experienced at some point that kind of feeling, that kind of bodily breakdown. It's a real factor. A lot of people don't talk about, but it is a thing. But I am so grateful to the Lord to pull me out of that. I am so grateful that the Lord protected me through that, protected those I loved around me through that, and protected my heart, and brought me to here. I am far from perfect. I am still on the healing path. I still struggle immensely with a lot of things. I still have triggers. But you know what? That's okay, because that's where I'm at. And I don't know why the Lord wants me to share that tonight. I don't know why the Lord wants me to be heart open tonight with you guys. I just know that I don't feel like I want to go home right now and sit in my room and create a video for you guys, nor do I want to go home and try to sleep or whittle away the rest of the hours. I just know that this is my story. It is a part of who I am. It is something that I'm still working through and journeying through. And again, I apologize for those that may be shocked by this, or maybe those that were kind of wondering but didn't say anything. I don't know. Who knows what the Lord has whispered? Because He is a good God that way, sometimes revealing things that even we don't know is being revealed to others around us. But this pain and this journey, it's not ending here. I walked away from that kind of lifestyle. I've put away those self-addictive kind of personalities and habits, because they're not of the Lord, and I don't need, attention to satisfy that need. I just need to turn inward into Jesus. And though it's great to receive attention, it's not 100% guarantee, and sometimes it's negative. If a guy catcalls you on the street, there's nothing positive or genuine or good about it. But I used to hate that, but also love it at the same time. It sounds mixed up, but when you feel so starved for that kind of love from people, even gentleness kind of love, you'll take anything. And I had for many years. And I'd have to say what happened 2 years ago kind of was the last straw. After that, I could say simply and clearly, I didn't take crap from people anymore, I didn't just accept things. Well, it was a long, long process and it was a lonely process, and it was a process where I had to do it myself. There was no one who was beside me, really. There was no one who would understand. There was no one I could turn to. I didn't really have anyone to process through this. It was just me and Jesus. Because I had become that woman in that one Bible story that resonates so deeply with me. The young woman where everyone was ready to stone. How dare she? How dare she do that? How dare she, be like that? They're all ready to stone her. But Jesus stood there, and then he knelt in the dirt, and he started writing with a stick, or with his finger, however the story goes. But he just ended up kneeling there, and just writing. But he challenged those accusers, those who were ready to throw stones. He challenged them, and basically told them, have any of you guys not sinned? I mean, I'm paraphrasing. But honestly, that's what it came down to. Have you guys not sinned before? Is her sin any worse than yours? Every one of those accusers dropped their stones and walked away. And the woman ended up repenting and turning back to Jesus. I feel so strongly resonate with that story. It's one of my favorites. Because my sin, my failure, whatever it was, it's not greater than the next person's. It's not worse. It feels worse at times. It feels like I'm the most horrible person in the world because how come I couldn't say something that I felt should be worth saving? But if I look back through, I tried. I tried everything in the books. And even a pastor told me straight point blank that there was nothing worth saving. That cuts deep when a pastor tells you that at that point, there's nothing worth saving. And that's probably the most honest thing a pastor's ever told me in my whole life was that. And I'm sure it wasn't easy for him, but he saw it as it was. There was no God in her. There was nothing redeemable at that point. It wasn't even sanctioned by God. I mean, I honestly call it fake because God wasn't in there. Vows might have been said, but it wasn't honored. Nothing was honored. I don't even know what those vows even mean, They never were honored. They never were from the beginning, A lot of lines were crossed. A lot of things happened even before, we stood up there before the altar of Jesus, And I just think back to that story, and I'm that young woman who everyone's ready to throw stones and accuse and pin down, but my sin is no greater than yours, and your sin is no greater than mine. And though mine may look different, my hands are just as black as yours, My heart is just as black as yours. But because of Jesus and how much he loves us and how much he loves me, my hands are now white. My heart is now purified and white and sanctioned for him alone. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what lies before me, But I can trust that Jesus has got me and that he loves me so, so much. Loves me so much that he will kneel in the dirt and challenge those accusers as I stand there ready to be stoned, I know what it is to be stoned, and not a physical sense, but I know what it is like. I know what it is to have people whisper behind your back or to say things. I know what it's like to have a church member call you and ask you what is going on because they heard something and find out that your name has been slandered across 2 different states and multiple churches. And you can't say anything because you don't even know what's true and what's not. So, world, honestly, no matter what situation you're in, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're facing, you're not doing it alone. And you're not doing it without Jesus. And you're not doing it with blackened hands or a blackened heart. Because Christ died for us on the cross to purify and sanctify us. And maybe it's only tonight that it really is sinking in deep what that fully means and how deep and vast his love is. But I say it, but to feel it is something so different. He loves us. I can't tell you how many gas stations I've sat in since then. I can't tell you how many times I've curled up and cried in the most random of places because all I could do was run because I didn't know how to stay. But Jesus is there, whether you're at a gas station, whether you're on the streets, whether you're in a hotel, whether you're in a house or an apartment, no matter where you are, no matter what situation you're in, Jesus is there, and he loves you. He loves you so, so much. More than you can even fathom or imagine. That cross was not there for me. That cross was not there for you. That cross was there for all of us. There is no single one name on that cross. Jesus died on the cross for all of us. And my story is not any worse than yours. And your story is not any worse than mine. Now, my story may shock you, and my story may seem like, how in the world could you go through what you went through if you went through a different kind of lifestyle than I did? But that's my story to hold and my story to journey through. You have your own story and your own. And you're just as strong and just as courageous. You're just as powerful and as beautiful as I am. Now, we're all unique and individual in God's eyes, yes. We each have our own gifts, our own talents, our own qualities, yes. But who we are in His eyes, together as a world, together as people, together as His children, His kingdom children, fighting for His kingdom, there's just nothing like it. The Lord loves us. He loves us so much we can't even imagine it. So maybe it's odd that I'm sharing my heart tonight. Maybe it's odd that I'm sitting at a gas station instead of at home, safe and secure. Maybe it's odd that I'm wandering around at these hours of the night. But I feel like this message is very powerful. It needs to get out there. And you guys really need to hear how much you are loved. And how, no matter how hard something may seem, it's not any harder or more impossible. Because God's already gotten through it. And He already knows that there is a beautiful light at the end of that tunnel. The tunnel may seem dark now. And if you are in a terrible situation and you need to get out, I apologize, there's a train coming through. But if you are in a situation and you need to get out, please reach out to me. Use code words. I don't care. Ask for a cup of coffee. Figure out some way to get the help you need. There's people out there that are willing to help you. You are not alone in this battle. You're not alone in this fight. You are strong and you are beautiful. Young ladies. Men can be in bad situations too. I'm there with you. Reach out. Send me a message. Let me know how you're doing. Because I care about you guys. I don't make these videos just for my pleasure. The Lord wanted me to share something really hard tonight from me to you guys, and there's a reason for that. So if this touches just one person or saves one person from something really bad, well then I guess I've done my job as God's instrument, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to let you guys have a rest, and I'm going to, head home now that I've shared my heart and feel a lot better. But we're in this journey together, friends, family, world. We're in this journey together, and you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this as me, myself, and I deal. I had to do it, because I didn't know there was another way. But you don't have to. God loves you, and I love you. So don't forget about it, world. All right. Have a great night. Virtual hugs. Bye.